Hi, good morning. It is time for a little bit of amigurumi crochet. Now, I've not done some for a while and I really enjoyed doing this. I'm sort of busy making a lot of dolls items at the moment because we've got a doll convention coming up and things like that. So it's absolute chaos on my desk. But I thought we need to get some amigurumi in there. And this, if I can pop on my hand, is, put on the right hand, ta-da, what we're looking at. We have a little mouse. Now I'm going to call her Lily Mouse because my granddaughter loves to do her ballet and she's a little ballerina mouse, as you can see. So she's going to be Lily Mouse and we're going to have a go at doing Lily Mouse today. She's quite easy. A couple of little bits obviously that need attaching, so there's that side of it if you don't like sewing up, but it doesn't take much to do. It is in UK terms, don't forget that, and it is in a double knit yarn, so it's not a bad sort of size to make, but she comes out quite little as well. So I don't know whether we can get her any closer. Sometimes it blurs when you take it closer, so I'm not sure whether that's blurred or not. But I'm really pleased how she come out. I think she's really cute. So we're going to get on doing that. We're going to go top down so you can see the detail a little bit better. And I'll see you in a moment with our little Lily Mouse. Hi, here we are with our Lily Mouse then. Again, she's quite easy to do. There's just obviously you've got to stitch on like the ears, the arms, the head. It's not too complicated though. I've made her so she's sitting down, so that's just the position I've popped her legs in. Of course, if you want to reposition her legs, you can do them slightly different. So she's having a little dance there. Now, it is all done in a double knit yarn. And remember again, UK terms, so your yarn might be slightly different depending on where you are. These are both Stylecraft yarns, so I've got this sort of cute grey and this sort of quite a bright pink there. But obviously you can do it any colour you want. Now, as far as the hook is concerned, I am using a 3.5mm crochet hook. I also have some toy stuffing, which is a safety grade one. I do like to sort of use a proper sort of toy stuffing when I'm actually making things. I have a few other bits, obviously my needles. I have a little flower that I popped on the mouse. You don't have to do that. You could pop a bow, you don't have to do anything, to be honest. You can decorate her up however you want. Because I had actually considered popping a little bit of lace across here, which is another thing that you could add some detail there with. So we're not going to be using this one just yet, so I'll move that to one side. In fact, I'll leave it there so we can lean our little Lily on there so she can watch us. And I'm going to be starting with this pink, so I'll move that out of the way. We don't need them just yet either. I'm just going to drop that in a box so it doesn't roll around the floor. And we're going to get going. As I said in the beginning, it is UK terms. You may need a conversion chart if you're not used to that, if you're a beginner. So do keep an eye out for that. Otherwise, obviously our UK double crochet is very different to a US double crochet. So you do need to be aware of the sort of size of the stitch there. So slip knot on the hook, not too tight. We're going to go 2 chain as all my amigurumi starts and most amigurumi starts. Now we're going to be doing 6 double crochets into that first chain. So in we go. Now our double crochet is in, pull it through, 2 on the hook and pull it through. That's a double crochet, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So that's our first round. For our second round, we're going to be popping 2 double crochets into each of those 6. So we're going to end up with 12 stitches. So in we go. That first one's always a little tricky. And off we go. So that's 2 in our first one. 2 in number 2. 2 in number 3. In number 4, number 5, and finally number 6. Doesn't want to go in, there you go. So we now have our 12 stitches. I'm just tightening up that ring here. If that ever does become an issue and yours doesn't tighten up, it should do, but sometimes you can catch this and it won't tighten up. After the fact, you can actually run the thread round and tighten it up that way, but hopefully it should tighten up as long as you've not caught it. Right, we're going to be doing, yes, you've guessed it, 2 in each again. So we've got 12 now, so we're going to end up with 24. I've got a bit of fluff from the stuff in there. Here we go. So we're going to do 12. So 2 in our first one, 2 in our second, in number 3, number 4, 5, 6, halfway now. Remember it's 2 in each, even though I'm only counting one number here. That is 7, 8, 9, 10, we're almost there, number 11, and 2 in our number 12. So as you can see, we're sort of stretching out a little bit now, so we're doing her bottom there. Now we do need a little bit more of an increase. I'm just double checking what I've written down there, but we're going to do some straight rounds first, but there will be, I was thinking actually no, I have actually only gone up to 24. If I read my own patterns properly, it would help. As you can see, as always, this is the form it's written in at the moment, so it's very messy. I will try and get it written up sort of simultaneously to the video, so we can get sort of the pattern out for sale if people do want it. Right, I want my stitch marker now, is what I need. And in it goes. Because from here, we're going to have 4 rounds of just 1 double crochet into everything. So I've got my pen ready. I'm going to mark them down and off we go. I'm going to rely on my stitch marker, but if you think you've got 24 stitches, so if you want to keep it really straight, just keep counting your 24 for each round. And also remember, you do need to move your stitch marker occasionally because that will make a difference as well. So round we go. You know, I've used this pink for so many things. I think it's sort of been one of those staple colours that I've got in my wool box. I think if I remember rightly, it's called fondant, if you want to know. But it is a Stylecraft yarn, and I know that's available easily in the UK. Not 100% sure how easy it is to get elsewhere. So we're almost round for our first round. Oh, there we go. And that's round 1, and I'm going to mark it off. Remember, there's 4 that we need to do. I've still got bits of fluff. It's because I've picked up this toy stuff and I've got all these little fibres stuck to me now. Right, round 2. And as I mentioned, it's a bit chaotic at the moment. I've got bits of doll stuff half made and sort of all the different size dolls and everything. I really need to sew some ends in because I'm going to have a box of ends to sew in, and that's a nightmare. Especially when you sort of change your yarn about 4 times in one item. But it's well worth it. It's weird, I avoid sewing in, but when I do it, I find it quite satisfying. You know, when it's finished and you put it down, you go, ah, it's all the ends in. That was worth doing. But it's just that you avoid it. I know most people do. Oh, I can't get in that stitch. There we go. It didn't want to do it. Right, so that is our round 2. So we're halfway there. If you look, it's already curling round for her to sit on. So it doesn't take much to sort of work your way up there. So it's quite a good one. You know, I've dropped that wool in a box and it still jumped out and jumped on the floor. Never mind. Off we go. So this is our round 3. And it will start to curve round, which is what you do want it to do. So that's good. So I've not done any amigurumi for a while, so I've quite enjoyed doing this. I need to get some tiny amigurumi done, because I wanted to make them for like little doll accessories, like dolls for dolls or teddies for dolls, things like that, which obviously I would be using a finer yarn than this. But again, it's a while since I've made anything like that. Right, almost round for number 3. Right, I will mark it down, even though I know I've only got one more. It's amazing how many times I've done that and I've got, oh, I only need one more, and then I've done something else, got distracted, and I've still forgotten where I am. So it doesn't take a lot to distract me. Right, this is my final round of just one double crochet in each before we start to do something different. Almost there. I'm about halfway, aren't I? Back round to the little strawberry. And so you will need to move your stitch marker after this next round. So I'm back in line with that. So you can see it's curving up nicely now. You see the shape. Now the next one we're going to do is actually going to be to bring it in a little bit. So we've got a little bit of decreasing. We have 2 stitches together and then we've got 4 individuals. So 1, 2, 3 and 4 just double crochets, and that will happen 4 times, and it will be bringing your stitches down to 24 stitches. So we do 2 together. So this is my 2 together. So I do sort of half the stitch, I don't complete it, then I go into the next one and pull it through. When I have 3 on the hook, I pull it through all 3 and then I tighten it a little bit. So that is my first decrease. Then I want 4 individual double crochets. 1, 2, 3 and 4. That's my first set. We do need to count for these. So I'm going to do 2 together, pull through all 3, tighten it a little bit, 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3 and 4. So that's my second set. Set 3, 2 together, tighten it a little bit, 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3 and 4. We have our final set. 2 together and then 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3 and 4. So that you can see it's already curving that way now, so we're getting a little bit of shaping going off there. Now I'm going to move my stitch marker up as I said I would, and then we go, because your positioning will alter, and I'm going to do 2 double crochet rounds now. So just 1 double crochet into each of those 20, and then we do it again. So off we go. I haven't actually timed how long it takes to make this, so I'm going to be quite curious to do this, although I am sort of doing it in 2 parts. So I mentioned, didn't I, about things you needed. I forgot to mention the eyes. These are actually safety eyes. So I'm going to be doing the sort of mouse as far as I can, because my daughter's going to be bringing me some safety eyes down, because I've run out and I'm waiting for an order to come through. So I'm pinching some of the ones she's got, so she's going to be bringing me down a little bit later. So it won't look like it's in sort of 2 parts for you, but it is actually in 2 parts, the video, because I need the eyes. So I'm going to do everything but the head first. Second round of just 1 double crochet into each double crochet. So this is the second one, as I said, of 2, and then we're going to be doing another decrease, because we've got to sort of shape up towards the neck. Round we go. Couple more to go. And 1 more, and we are there. So again, you can see how the body's shaping up. We're going to have another decrease, very similar to last time. It will be 2 together, and this time just 3. 1, 2 and 3 individual double crochets, and you're going to do that again like before, 4 times. So here's our first 2 together. Oh, I'm knocking my camera because my alarm's going off and I'm just dismissing it. There we go. I got up earlier than my actual alarm was set, so I'm sort of doing this quite early. So that's our 2 together. Then we want 3 individuals, don't we? 1, 2 and 3. So that's set number 1. Set number 2, 2 together. Then 1, 2, 3. 1, 2 and 3. Set number 3. And then 1, 2 and 3. Our last set. 2 together first. And then 1, 2, 3. 1, 2 and 3. So we are now down to 16 stitches there. So we're going to be doing a little, still double checking what I'm doing. We're going to be changing, in fact, we're changing to our grey now. Where's my scissors? I didn't say I'd got some scissors. I've got some here though, so we're okay. So I'm just going to cut that off. And how I'm going to do it is, I know there's lots of different ways. I change my mind every time on how I'm finishing yarns off. But I'm actually going to literally finish it off. Okay. I'm going to take my stitch marker out. You join your yarn however you wish. Everybody does it differently. And let's see if I can find the end of this grey. There it is. It's a little bit of a higgledy-piggledy ball, that. So, got my grey in my hands, ready. Now, where I've actually sort of just finished off, I'm just going to take it back 1 stitch. And I'm going to pick up the yarn and we're going to do a double crochet round. So I'm going to do a chain and in to do the double crochet. Chain just sort of sets it off more than anything else. And then we're going to go into that one, which is always a bit tight because it's when you've just fastened it off, but I just think it gives a neater sort of finish. I say that every time I try a new method. I don't think I'm ever going to settle on a method I like. And we're going to do, as I say, 1 double crochet into every single one. You could do the whole body pink. You don't have to change the colour. I just thought it blended into the head a little bit better by turning this last bit grey. So we don't really need the stitch marker now because you can see where you sort of started your new colour. Right, so that's our first round of just 1 double crochet. We now need a bit more decreasing. We're going to do 2 together like before and then 1, 1. So you've got 2 double crochets this time. And again, times 4. So I'm going to go into that, which is actually the first one I did, wasn't it? Don't finish it, into the next one and all the way through all 3. That's my first decrease. And then I'm going to do 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. Okay, so that's set number 1. Set number 2, 2 together, 2 individual stitches. That was set number 2. 2 together, 2 individual stitches. That was set 3. 1 more set, 2 together, and then we're going to have a 1 and a 2. Now you can see now our hole is getting a little bit small, so I think I need to pop some stuffing in there before I forget, and then the hole is so small I can't do anything with it. I do want to tie these 2 where I just joined the new yarn because I don't want anything coming undone. And of course we can just then push these in here because they're inside. It adds to the stuffing. And if it's a dark colour, you do have to be careful. If you've done a really pale colour and then a dark colour and then you push your ends in, sometimes it can show, so be careful on that. So let's get some of this stuffing in. If it's sort of clumped together as well, your stuffing, just give it sort of a little bit of a pull around and it will just sort of give its fluff back a bit, because you don't want a hard bit in where you're making the toy. Well, I'm saying toy, depends on who it's for. And please remember, obviously, age groups, especially if you are using safety eyes and things like that, you've got to think about how old the recipient actually is. I'm actually keeping this first little mouse for myself, and my granddaughter can have this second one. So I'm going to stuff it in a little bit further. I'm sort of really pushing it to the bottom because I don't want it to catch while I'm actually doing this last bit of crochet. So I'm going to do a little bit more, and then I'm going to add in the final bit of the stuffing. Basically, for this last bit, we're going to just do 2 double crochets together until it is closed up. So you do need to make sure you tighten them. So this is our first one, 2 together, and I do need to make sure I tighten it on this, otherwise you get like little holes if you're not careful. 2 together, keep it tight, 2 together, keep it tight. Right, you can see the hole is tiny now, so I think I do need to get a little bit more in. Not a lot more, because that's quite tight. Now, if you're sort of struggling, it's weird. One of the best things I've used to push stuffing in is either tweezers or scissors for some reason. And I've tried with the hook. It doesn't work with the hook, but I don't know why. Scissors and tweezers, especially if it's something that's really tiny. Just be careful you don't sort of spike yourself. So I'm pushing it right in, because when we've finished it, we can push that out a little bit. So keep going, 2 together till we're closed. See, it starts to get a little bit harder as it gets closer. It doesn't have to be 100% closed because the head's going to sit on top of it. So it's not too bad. I'm sure the light's just gone dark again. I've no problems with the light. I think it's because I am working so early in the morning, which I don't normally do. Right, we will have a slip stitch to finish. Let's fasten that off and do that. And as I say, I pushed the stuffing really far down. So what I'm going to do now is just sort of roll it about a little bit, so to squish it back round into place. So that is our body of our little Lily Mouse. So I think, as I mentioned, I'm going to have to do the head after the fact because I'm waiting for the eyes to come down from my daughter. So let's move that. I think that was that causing the darkness. It was sort of making it worse, wasn't it? Let's move the stuffing over there. And we're going to also move this one out of the way because I want the pink again, because I'm going to do the tutu. It seems a little bit back to front, but it doesn't really matter what order you do the pieces in, because they're ultimately all just going to go together, aren't they? So it doesn't matter. Now the tutu is an interesting one. It is so easy to get these ruffles, so easy, but they can be a little fiddly to hold, so it is a little bit annoying when you're holding them sometimes. So here we go. Obviously our slip knot. Now this is going to be working in a chain, so this is technically not amigurumi, but usually the details on an amigurumi item aren't. And we're going to do 25 chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 5 more to go, 21, 22, 23, 24 and 25. Now at this point you need to check, because if you've stuffed this a lot, the 25 is not going to go round. If you've stuffed it a little bit less, so she's sort of got a sort of a squashed sort of shape, you might need less. The thing to do now is do your 25, pick up the little body. This is very difficult to do in front of the camera, and make sure it sits where you want it on the waist, depending on where you want your tutu, fits edge to edge. You need that because this is the base of the tutu. So I'm happy with that. That worked. And now we're going to be doing 3 half trebles in every single one of them. So we're going to end up with 75 stitches. So that is quite a lot. So my first stitch is going to be 2 chain. Yeah. And then here, where that last bit of chain finished, we're going to do, if I can get in there, it's always tricky that first bit, we're going to do 2 more half trebles into that stitch. So that's the equivalent to doing our 3 in our first chain. Now I'm going to do 3 in every single chain. So it's half trebles, remember, so it's all the way through. All the way through 3. That was 2, wasn't it? Now it will start to curl up in your fingers, which is the bit that's sort of not irritating, perhaps that's the wrong word. It just gets in your way a little bit, so you're having to constantly move it. So I'm just doing 3 half trebles in every stitch here. So you pop along at your speed. Remember, you could slow me down in the settings, but to be honest, I think sometimes the best thing to do is, you know, I've said it's 3 in each, just pause it, do your 3 in each and come back sort of when we get to the next part. So can you see how it's curling? And it sort of drives you mad because it keeps curling up where your finger is, but it's worth it to get this gorgeous little frill. So keep going. It's one of my favourite things to do. I'll pop it on the end of dresses. Oh, I've done it as ruffles. I've done it as clown sort of collars. Oh, all sorts. It's just really great. So here we go. I've got 3 in each, remember. You straighten it out afterwards, so don't worry about that. For some reason, I keep wanting to count 2, not 3. That's why I keep double checking what I've actually done. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Yeah. As I say, it does make 75 stitches this, which seems an awful lot when you're making such a tiny weeny mouse. So let's keep going with this until we get to the end. I'm sure you've probably fast forward. I dropped it. I'm sure you're probably going to fast forward, which I don't blame you. I think I would as well. But I do like to try and do my videos in real time, rather than me sort of fast forwarding it for you. So if you do want to sort of stay with me while I'm doing it, you can sort of listen to me, usually chattering away. So we're about halfway. You see how we've got this gorgeous little coily bit here. I'm saying halfway. Yeah, I think we are about halfway. So we got 1, 2, 3. It's like doing a very sort of confusing sort of foundation row. Normally a foundation row is just 1 stitch in each, but yeah, that was 3. 1, 2, and 3. How many more we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, we've only got about 10 to go. That's not so bad. 1, 2, and 3. I'll try and speed up a little bit. It's not so easy to do this bit fast though. Take your time when you're doing it. Try not to overstretch your chain as well. 3. Let's pull a bit of yarn out there. There's only actually 2 rows to the tutu, so as soon as you get past this bit, there's only 1 more row to go. So it's not really that much, is it? 1, 2, nearly got it cut, and 3. Yeah, that last bit went to go a little bit quicker than the first bit. I don't know why. There's absolutely no reason for that, unless it's just because I sort of got into the flow of it after a certain point. And our very last stitch, we still need 3 in. 1, 2, and 3. Now that's our little coil. It will sort of push out when we do the next row. I want to say round then, so it was a round. We're going to be doing 1 half treble into each of these half trebles. So 2 chain to turn, and we're going to be working along this line now. So it's just 1 in each now. But saying that, that is still 75 stitches. But it's easy to get into because it's not a chain. And chains are always more difficult to get into. As you can see, it's sort of flowing a lot easier now. Says me as I promptly get it stuck. Make sure you are picking up both pieces. You can see you've got the 2 pieces of the chain. You're doing, well, the chain stitch. Sort of is a chain though, if you look at it like that. You do need to pick that up. See that? It sort of straightens it out because we're only doing one in each. It's sort of straightening it out enough to still just give us that little wave that you get on the tutu. I think probably this is one of the longest bits, because after we've got past the body and this, the little legs and arms don't take 2 minutes. I will only do one of each for demonstration, you'll be glad to know. Otherwise you're going to be sort of waiting for me a little bit of time, but they only take minutes really, those bits. And then the ears and the head, of course. Now I actually forgot to put a tail on my little mouse here, on my little Lily mouse, but I will be doing a tail as well, which I'm going to do it just in a Plait format, which is quite easy, so I can show you how to do that. And what I'll do is I'll pop it on the Lily mouse I've already made. Of course she doesn't have to have a tail either, but I think we do need to finish it off like that. We're definitely over halfway now, so persevere with me, we are nearly there. Or not, because then I drop the stitch. It's always the same, isn't it? I swear, I just sort of tempt fate. Every time I go, oh, I'm nearly there, or we've only got a couple more stitches, I usually do something wrong. But again, I'd rather you see me do things wrong, because it sort of proves that everybody's still learning, no matter how long you've been doing it. I'm definitely still learning. There's so many different techniques out there. And I also go wrong a lot. I know people sometimes think, oh, I just sit there and make it. But no, there's usually a couple of prototypes. I must admit, little Lily Mouse here wasn't too bad for that. I got it done quite quick. But I was quite concerned when I'd done the body. I'm thinking, oh, the head's going to be too small for it. But the ears then balanced it out. So by the time I put everything together, it did work. How many more stitches we got? Maybe 10? Maybe 10, something like that. Definitely counting down now. 5, is it? Is it 4? Is it 3? 2 and 1, and there is actually one more. It's that last one. Always be careful, because that one that's the chain isn't very obvious. So that's it, the tutu's finished, and at the minute it doesn't look much like a tutu, does it? But trust me on this, because basically what we need to do now is, as we sort of tidy it up, you see it'll fold. So now we have a little tutu. Isn't that cute? Now what I'm going to do is, I do want these two ends to be stitched together. So I'm going to keep this one. I should have made that a little bit longer to actually sew onto the body. But I'm going to use this one to sew the two ends together. Let me find the right needle. It only takes a couple of stitches. Well, it will if I can get it in the needle. In you go, behave. Right, so I'm just going to fold that over. So I've got the two ends together. Yeah, two ends together. Now I have to do a few stitches. Because I've left that other bit of it short, I might save this bit as well to continue sewing onto the body. So otherwise I would have normally just sort of fastened that off. But because I think I've sort of done that too short, I've not really got much to sew onto the body. And we can push it on. There we go. Get your frill right. So just sort of move it around, sort of fold it into place wherever you sort of wanting it. Just take a little bit of sort of messing about to get that frill into position. But there we go. So that would be your tutu. So decide where it's going to go, and then we're going to use these pieces of yarns, or preferably if you'd had just one long piece, stitch all the way around into place. So we now have a tutu, and a body. So we're going to be looking at the legs next, I think, because again, we're using a bit of the pink for the legs. So we'll get the pink yarn completely out of the way. And I'm just having a look at the time. Like I say, I know my daughter's going to be knocking on the door at some point. So I don't want to sort of start something and then have to stop. It looks better if it's done in sections. So I'm going to pop this down. I'm going to pause. You won't see it as that. And then we're going to get on with the legs, the arms, the head, and the ears. Now the ears, I will just mention, it is 2 pieces. So it makes it sort of thicker and it holds better. It's not just 1 circle. So you do actually have to make 4 circles for these ears when we get onto it. But you can see, look, she's going to have a little friend soon. To squish her about a bit. I've got a feeling I've done this part here a little bit shorter on there, but it doesn't actually matter because I think it makes the tutu a little bit higher to the neck, so I think I actually prefer that. When I write the pattern up, I think I will be following this format rather than adding in. I think I did an extra double crochet around because she was my prototype and I usually alter from the prototype, so there will be a slight difference between the 2 there. So I'm going to pause there. I will see you in a couple of moments, or not even minutes, seconds even it'll look like, and we can move on to the next part of our little Lily Mouse. Back, my daughter has been down, as you can see, with a few safety eyes for me, so it means we can get onto the head as well. But I did say we were going to do the legs first because I want to get rid of the pink wool out of the way, so then I'm only working with the grey. Now I'm going to just make 1 little leg. Obviously she needs 2 little legs, and we start with the pink and then onto the grey. You could just do it in grey, but I just thought it made it look like she got some little ballet slippers on, so I thought that was sort of quite cute there. So let's get going. They don't take long, these to do. We need our slip knot, of course. Now the only thing is, it is sort of sometimes a little tricky when you've only got so many stitches on the hook to do this spiral on this, but a bit of perseverance and you'll be fine. So we need 2 chain, like we start with everything. Let's move those out of the way, they're a little distracting. And then we're going to do 6 double crochets into that first chain. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Just tighten up that middle bit a little bit, and we're just going to do 1 round in the pink. That is all, and it's just 1 double crochet into each of those 6. If you're not sure where the 6 starts, let me just take the hook out, because sometimes you do have a tendency to go in there. Count from the back. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It's actually that one, but it sort of feels like it should be there. So always double check where you're going to be going in. So in we go, and it's just 1 in each. So we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And that's basically it for that bit. We now need to change colour, but can you see it sort of curls the wrong way round? So I'm just pushing it over my little finger there to sort of get it to curl the right way, and also tighten up that little sort of hole in the middle. So that's as far as it's going to go with the pink. So that wasn't much, was it? We now need to come back to the grey, and we're going to do 5 rounds. And I have to put them over there because it's going to run on them otherwise. So I'm back to my grey, and again, you join however you prefer. Stop, start, pull it through, whichever works for you. I think I'm just going to go with pulling it through for now, and we'll see how that one works. And so we need 1 double crochet into each of the double crochets. So tighten that up. We don't want it loose. We don't want any little holes. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Right, I'm just going to pause there a second, because you see these 2 where we started, I want to tie them off now, because as the little leg sort of gets longer, it's really hard to get inside to tie anything off. So I don't want them coming undone at any point, so I need to tie them off now. So I'll leave them long because I'm just going to stuff the ends inside the leg when it comes to that bit. So that was 1 round, and I want 5, so I better mark it off. There we go. So getting it into position. We know where the first one is because it's there, because we started a new colour, didn't we? So 6 double crochets again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. That was round number 2. I mean, you can give her longer legs if you want, or shorter legs. It's entirely up to you, that bit. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So that's our third round. Got 2 more to go. Now these do get in the way somewhat, so it's up to you. I think it's not really long enough to shove them in yet, so they do get in your way, so try not to catch them up. So keep them pushed to the back there all the time. So 6 double crochets. 1, 2, you sort of have to move them around though, that's the only thing. 3, 4, 5 and 6. So that's our 4th round. Now we only have 1 more round to do, and like I said, these are really sort of starting to get in the way, so I'm going to get rid of them. I'm going to cut them a little bit short, entirely up to you. I suppose it depends on how much you've left long, and I'm going to just use my scissors to try and push them inside the little foot, because I'm not going to stuff these, so this little bit of sort of leftover yarn sort of just pads it out fractionally. Don't need to pad it out at all. In fact, I'm going to cut those ends off. Ta-da! So it's out of the way now, but I still need 1 more round. So just 1 double crochet in each of those 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and our last one, and number 6, and I'm going to do a slip stitch to finish. Oh, or I will do. I don't drop the stitches. What am I doing? There we go. So that's it. That is the little leg. Obviously we need 2. I will leave you to do the 2. Yes, you can see how the little sort of leg will sit like that. So that's 1 leg. The arm is no different really, apart from the fact we're just keeping in grey, and there's 1 less round because I've not included where the sort of little ballet slipper. So we will do one of those anyway, even though it's very similar. So we need 2 chain. We need 6 double crochets into that first chain. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Pull that nice and tight. Now we need 1 double crochet in each double crochet times 5. So we're doing 5 rounds, should I say. Here we go. So this is our first round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. That's round number 1, and now we'll mark it down because we don't want one arm being longer than the other, so it's important that you do mark it down. Again, it curls, so I'll just push it over my finger to stop it curling. So here we go, 1 in each again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So that is number 2. Oh, my pen's not working. Oh, there we go. 1 in each for 6 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. That is our number 3. We'll have 2 more rounds to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. One more round, the last round, and then the arm's finished. See how quick that was. So careful not to pick that up as well, which is what I nearly did. Oh, I've got a pussycat come to see me. There's your mowing at me. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and our last one. And my voice is going croaky for some reason. And a slip stitch. There we go. So we can fasten that off now. So that is the arm. So that's as quick as an arm is. Again, we need 2 arms there. So you think a little leg and a little arm there. So that's sort of just going to stitch onto the body like that. So you can just stuff that end in and it just gives it a little bit of padding, but it doesn't need to be stuffed, I don't think. I think we're going to move on to the ears next. I'm saving the head for the last, aren't I, here? We're going to do 4 pieces for the ears because I've doubled them up. Each ear is 2 thicknesses, as I mentioned, but I will just make the 1 ear, so I do still need to make 2 pieces for you. So onto the hook as always, and it's just amigurumi again. So 2 chain, 6 double crochets into that first chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. We now need just 2 double crochets in each of those 6 to give us 12 stitches. So 2 in each one. So that's our first one, our second one, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6. Tighten up that middle bit, and that's it. That's 1/2 of the ear done. So I'm just going to fasten off there because I'm going to be sort of crocheting the 2 together in a minute. So the first one I've fastened off. This is something I should have mentioned. First one is fastened off. Second one isn't fastened off because you might as well keep the yarn to go round and crochet them both together. That's why. So here we go. 2 chain, 6 in 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Tighten it up, 2 double crochets in each of the 6 to give us our 12. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And as I say, I'm not fastening off because I'm going to be putting these together to crochet them, so I just want to continue with this yarn. Now, as far as crocheting together is concerned, is I need both wrong sides together. Now you are sort of having a bit of a fight with lots of different strings here, so that is something to contend with. So we go into the next stitch and then find an equivalent stitch on the other side, yeah, and then we're just going to do a double crochet. So that's our first stitch together, and you're going to continue with that. So pick up a stitch, pick up its corresponding, always double check, because that one nearly went in the wrong one then. There we go. And then in, you can have a look, double check you've got both sides in. You need to keep it neat, don't pick partial stitches up. And there we go. So again, in, double check the other side. After a minute or two, it sort of flows because it lines itself up. But so you've got to sort of make sure you get the right stitches before that. Don't rely on just pushing through. Do double check that you've picked up the right part on the other side. Now what I'm going to do is these two here, these two are from the middle point, so I'm going to make sure they're pulled tight before I do anything, and I'm going to cut them off. Be careful you don't cut the wrong bit off, which it wouldn't be the first time I've done that. So we've still got two ends here, the one we started with and this one, so we still need to carry on round. We're not all the way around yet. We are round, so I will cut that off and leave enough so you can sew it onto the head, like I didn't do with the tutu, but it is important. And we're going to do a slip stitch into that last stitch and fasten off. Right, now I would stitch that through, but I'll do it now and then it's done, isn't it? I want to get rid of it, but I want to make sure it's not going to undo as well. So all I'm going to do is thread it through. And it's gone. Yep, so that's nice and secure on the other side, so we can now cut it. So we have our ear, but can you see by crocheting it together, it sort of pulls it over. You could have stitched it together, but it gives it sort of a bit more shape by crocheting it together. That is why I did that. So we have an ear. Now we need the most important bit. We need her little head. So we're still working on grey. I now turn my pattern over with my book because, like I say, I did it in a slightly strange order, didn't I? Amigurumi again. Move my scissors onto the hook. And we're doing exactly the same as the first one. We're starting with 2 chain and 6 double crochets into the first one. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Tighten it up. Now we're going to be increasing sort of slower because we do want to sort of create sort of the length of the nose a little bit. So the first increase we're going to do is just 2 in the first one, 1 in the second one, and we're going to do that 3 times. That's 3, 3, 3. Can you see my fingers like that? And that will increase us by 3 stitches, so we'll have 9 stitches. So 2 in the first one, 1 in the second one. That's our first set. 2 in our third one, 1 in our fourth one. Second set done. 2 in number 5 and 1 in number 6. So we now have 9. I still need to tighten that up a little bit more, and we're going to do 1 double crochet in each for the next one. So we've got 9 stitches. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So again, it's curling the wrong way, so push it back out the right way. So you can see we've got the little nose shape in there. DC increase again, so we have 2 in the first one and 1, 1, yeah, times 3. So here we go. So 2 in the first one, then a 1 and a 1. That's set number 1. We've got 2 more sets to do. So 2 in the next one, then a 1 and a 1. That's our second set completed. Last set, 2 in the first, then a 1 and a 1. Now we have 12 stitches, and we're going to do 1 double crochet in each of those 12. So off we go. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, nearly went it wrong one, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So we got another increase to come. Now at the moment, as I said, we've got 12 stitches. The next one's going to take us up to 16 stitches, and it's going to be a similar system. It's going to be 2 in the first one and then a 1, 2, but this time you're going to do 4 sets. So off we go. This will give us 16 stitches. So we're going to have a 2, make sure you pull it all the way through, 2, a 1 and a 1. That's set number 1. Set number 2, we're going to have a 2, a 1 and a 1. So that's our second set. Third set starting. We have a 2, we have a 1 and a 1. That's our third set. Last set, we have 2 in 1 stitch and a 1 and a 1. So we now have 16 stitches. We're going to do another increase, which is going to be similar again. 2 in the first one, but then 1, 2 and 3, yeah, times 4. So 2 in the first one, and then we have a 1, a 1 and a 1. That's first set done. Second set, 2 in the first stitch, then we have a 1, a 1 and a 1. That's our second set. Third set's to start. 2 in the first one, then we have a 1, a 1 and a 1. We have our fourth set, I think. I've just lost count. Nightmare. I'll count them all in a minute. So 2 in the first one, then we have 1, 2 and 3. It's because I suddenly started thinking of something else, which is a really bad habit. So I know I need 20 stitches here. So let's double check. Let's get a bit of counting going. It's always good to double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Thankfully, my gut instinct was right. I did do enough. You can see the little nose there. So we now need 2 rounds that are just 1 double crochet in each. It is only 20 stitches. If I was nice and quiet, I would just count them. But because I'm sort of obviously chattering and getting distracted, I'm going to pop my stitch marker in. So 2 rounds, okay? Just 1 double crochet in each. And the dog's clattering in now. I've not shut door on them. I normally close my craft room door when I'm filming. But I thought, well, I'll leave them in here. But they're both making noises now. So this is just 1 double crochet. Oh, now the cat's joining in. I think what the cat is actually doing is fighting with one of my husband's boots. She's got a thing about one of his Converse boots, or one pair of them. They're like a suede. And I don't know, she just fights with it for some reason. She doesn't touch anything else. Just these trainers. It's very strange. Right, that was 1 round of 1 double crochet in each. Second round. Got noises all around me at the minute. I don't know how much you can hear because I've got a microphone on, so it doesn't always pick up other noises. So I think I've got birds nesting in the chimney because I can hear them making noises every now and then. I've got dog clattering. Next door's dog's barking now. Cat fighting with a shoe. But you probably can't hear most of this. No wonder I'm getting distracted. Right, so this is my second round of just 1 double crochet in each one. And there we are. So that is the main part, like the front of the head. We will now be going to decrease. Now, don't decrease too far down before you put the stuffing in, or the eyes. That's always something to keep an eye out for. So I'm going to do 1 of the decrease rounds, then I'll look at fixing the eyes in. Now, this first decrease is 2 together, then 1, 2 and 3. And you're going to do that 4 times, takes you back down to 16 stitches. So 2 together. Make sure it's tight, then 1, 2, 3. 1, 2 and 3. Okay, that was our first set. Second set, 2 together, then 1, 2 and 3. 2 together, then we've got 1, 2 and 3, and our last decrease set on this round. 2 together, 1, 2 and 3. So let's now decide where the eyes are going before we go any further. I'm hoping she's brought me the right ones. These are 6mm across. And again, make sure you get the good quality ones. Now these should be okay, but I think she's put a couple of big ones in there as well. I want the 6mm, which are those, and that means I need the 6mm tops, which I know are these because those are what I recognise from my last ones. So I can put the other bits she's sent me in the bag. Oh, hang on, I want that one. I want that one. There we go. So they can go back in the bag. I really do need to get... I know I say I've got some order, but I need to get them through. That's the only thing that's waiting. So we'll take the stitch marker out for now. That's the same shape all over. But for some reason, when I hold them, you can sort of... I don't know. If I do it that way, that don't work for me. And it should make no difference because the increases are equal. But I think, yeah, about there. Now, if I look on this little one, you can see the distance I've done. There's only a few stitches between, so don't put your backs on straight away. Put your eyes in. Because remember, when they're stuffed, it's slightly different as well. So I'm like looking at that and I'm thinking, is it wider than hers? It doesn't really matter, you can put them where you want. But I wanted it approximately the same because when it's stuffed it comes round a bit. I think it needs to come in one stitch. But this is it, why you don't put the backs on until you've decided. Yes, I'm happy with that now. So I'm going to pop the backs on. I'm doing my stitches there. Let me pull the head a little bit longer. Now I might turn it inside out to do this. It looks like a funny little alien at the moment. Now with these, it's dome side up. Check your instructions, they might all be different. So I'm just going to basic position it so it's not going to go anywhere. That's just on that very top sort of knot there. And then for these, I do 2 clicks. So you go click, click, then I know it's in place. If you do it too tight, it'll cut through the yarn. If you do it too loose, sort of too loose, it's not going to be safe, is it? So here we go. 1, 2. Okay, so I know that's okay for me. But I must admit, I have thrown away bits of crochet and eyes before now because I've done it wrong. So you'll get used to the brand you use. So that's like holding. Then I want 2 clicks. 1, 2. There we go. Now, when they're small like this can get in the way. But there we go. So it's got a little eyes. So we can carry on a little bit more decreasing before we stuff. I think we can manage that. And the next one is going to be 2 together and 2 double crochet. So 2 together, then 1 and 1. Okay, and again that's times 4. So we're not going to bother with stitch marker for this one. No point putting it back when we're doing this. So that's 1, 1 and 1. So that's our first set. Second set, 2 together, a 1 and a 1. So that's our second set. Third set, 2 together, a 1 and a 1. And our last set for this bit, 2 together, a 1 and a 1. Right, it might be worth looking at doing your stuffing now. So I'll just pull that strand along, little face, and we'll get this stuffing in. Now, I do this in small parts because if you try and shove it all in at once, you'll not get down to the end of the nose. So I'm going to tighten the nose up, that little, that bit there. So I don't want it coming undone. Make sure it's in the position you want it. I'm going to push the spare yarn inside. And then I'm also going to push a little bit of stuff in, and I'm going to use my scissors to push it right to the end. Okay, another little bit rather than doing it all together. And let's push it to the end. Obviously you don't want too much there, but you need to make sure that there is actually stuffing in there. So in we go. Now we can start to put a little bit more in the main part of the head. Looks a bit weird when you push it all down, but I say you can wiggle it about afterwards. I just don't like it in the way of my crochet. Now to actually fasten this off now, we're going to just do 2 double crochets together continually around. But we need to make sure they're tight, otherwise you'll sort of get a loose effect. Let me get the first stitch. So 1 and 2 together. Pull it tight. 1 and 2 and pull it tight. 1, 2 and tight. 1, 2 and tight. Let me decide whether I've got enough stuffing in there before I go too far. Yeah, I think I'm happy with the stuffing amount, so I'm going to just carry on until the hole is closed, which isn't many more stitches. See, it gets a little bit, you can almost hear the wall squeaking because it's getting a bit tight, but you need it to be tight. And I'm going to say that is it, and I'll show you what you can do if you've got some little holes. Now we need plenty of yarn here because it's got to sew onto the head. So onto the head, onto the body even. Right, looks like a little snake or something, isn't it, at the moment? I'm going to pull that through, all the way through. And I'm going to get my needle now, and I'll show you what I meant by what you can do. Now sometimes it's really hard, you see, to get these very last bits here. So when we've got our yarn now, we can do a little bit of darning, I suppose you could argue it. So I'm just taking it over and taking it across. So I'm just sort of threading this other yarn through to sort of fill in the areas. Now the head obviously is going to be stitched on from here, so we want to keep this yarn, and I'm going to move it down to there. The next thing we're going to do is going to give that head a little roll and get it into position. So I'm quite pleased with that. I like that. So that is the little head to go on the body. Now we don't need that part of the body either, so I'm going to have to use one of my other needles now because I don't want to unthread that one. Right, I'm just going to get rid of that one because we don't need it. Just sort of thread it through a couple of times, and we know it's nice and secure. And I'm going to do a bit of the sewing up with you to go through some of the details, but obviously because I've only made one arm, one leg, I can't do it all. So let's have a look at this head positioning. So you decide where the front of your body is or whatever, it doesn't usually make much difference, and decide sort of where the head is going. Now I usually try and hold the head at the same time. Oh, I'll make that saying try, it jumps off. I will hold the head and the body at the same time, and I'm going to sort of get it stitched on, so let's get a stitch in, and then it's not likely to fall off. There we go. So it's a stitch in the head, a stitch in the grey of the body, in the head. Oh, knock the camera, into the body. Right, stop having vertigo in a second when the camera settles. It's still bouncing a bit. Stop bouncing, camera. No, so you can see how it's starting to stitch into place, yeah? Make sure, I mean, if you want the head on one side or something like that, you can do, but we want it sort of quite central. So we need to make sure that's how I get it. The thing is, when you sew something on, don't fasten it off until you've had a good look at it to make sure you're sort of happy with the positionings. Because I think his head's a little bit over to one side, so I need to sort of try and balance that out. But it's easy to undo if you've not fastened it off. If you've fastened it off, it's not so easy. Right, let's have a look, see how straight you are or not straight. Yeah, that's straightened up a little bit now, so I'm a little bit happier with that. So I just need a couple more stitches for this back section. don't want a head dropping off forward. I know I've mentioned it before, but I find it quite hard to sew up on camera because I'm having to do it way away from my body, and I like to sew quite close to my body when I'm sewing. I don't know why, it's just a position I find comfortable. So now we can stitch these through and get rid of any bits we don't want. Now we can fasten that off. Right, I think we really ought to put the tutu on next because it's one of the sort of bigger pieces to actually attach, and then you need to know sort of where your legs and things are sitting when you've done that. So I'm going to place the bit where I joined it at the back, and we can position our tutu. I think that looks about in the right position. So ideally I should have had just one very long piece of yarn here and it would have been easier, but because I didn't, I'm going to use both pieces for sewing up. So choose a line that you're going to follow all the way around. So I'm quite happy there. So I'm going to just get a stitch in quick. So I pick up a bit of the tutu and a bit of the body. A bit of the tutu and a bit of the body. Make sure it doesn't sort of slope in any odd direction as you're doing it. So tutu and body. The dog next door is definitely having a good old bark. You can see where I've caught that there. Like I say, I'd rather you see the mistakes I make, so hopefully it means you don't make them. I can afford to cut that. It is only a tiny bit. Don't be cutting great big pieces of yarn, otherwise you'll cut holes in your work. But after a bit of practice, you sort of learn what you can get away with and what you can't. Tell if I'm concentrating because I go quiet. You know, I might get away with this piece of yarn. I don't think it is going to be long enough, but it's probably going to do about 3/4 of the way around the skirt. Right, let's have a little look there. Right, I think I'm tempted to sort. Oh no, look, I will. I'm going to get it out of this, aren't I? Only just, but I think I will do it. So we can just sew that other end in. Yeah, we've got round. We've got round. Is there a bit there? Oh no, I've missed a little bit. I think that's round now. So I need to tie a little knot here. You can see, because it's short, can you see how difficult it gets? This is why I like to have some nice long ends. So I'm just going to tighten that up. And let's get rid of those ends just by pushing them through the body. One end gone. And the other end, which I would have normally already got rid of, but as I say, I was a bit worried I was going to run out of yarn, so that's why I'd kept it, because I could have used that for sewing up as well. Push it through and push it through. So that's our tutu on. Let's get one of the ears on. I think I have got a slightly sort of with a head to one side. That's okay. Makes it just look like she's sort of popping her head coyishly on one side. So let's get this ear in. So decide where the ear's going. Some mouse ears are quite high. I've actually chosen sort of more to the side. So I want it there. So then I lay it flat. Now have you noticed I've got the curved in bit to the front. And then I'm going to just pick up both sides. and stitch the ear into place. One more, do a little knot, check you've got enough stitches into place. I think that looks all right. She's definitely got a slightly lopsided look going off. And let's get rid of this yarn then. And snip. Now the legs, entirely up to you. As I said, I sort of put them out so she was sat down. If that's going to be the case, you need to sort of stitch them sort of there, or you're going to be sort of stitching them down. So I'm going to be stitching it so it's sort of sat like that. Again, it's the same procedure as the ear, nothing more complicated. And with the arm, onto the grey bit for the stitching, and you've got the little arm in place as well. They take about 2 or 3 stitches to stitch on. They don't take much at all. So you're stitching this top bit together and then it's in place. So shall we put one of them on? I will. You can see that bit of yarn there. I'm going to get rid of that. Always eliminate as many bits of yarn that you don't need, because it's always getting in your way. So I want the flat of the arm on here. So I'm just going to choose the side position. So it's just above the skirt. Yeah. Let me put that knot to the side. There we go. That's better. So I'm going to pick up a bit of the body, but then both sides of the arm. That's one side and then the other side. You can do it in 2 bits like that if you want. It don't make any difference. Part of the body, then both sides of the arm, the body and the arm. When you're sort of happy, you think it's solid enough, you can do your little knot. See, I'm doing it again. I'm trying to pull it towards me because that's sort of my comfortable place to work. And let's just push it through. And trim. The leg is no different, it's just a different position. So like I say, we'll pop that about there when we do it. Apart from that, there's only a tail and a nose missing. Now, as far as the little flower is concerned, these are just some sort of little sort of satin flowers. I just stitched that into place with a little bit of sewing cotton. I think it makes quite a difference just adding that tiny detail. But we're going to do the tail with this little girl. And this is what I wanted to bring in to show you. This is a vise. It's a tabletop vise, and I use it to plait because it holds. So excuse me, Mrs. Mouse, you're gonna have to go in the vise. So we'll open it right up, and I'm gonna place her in. So our bottom's sticking up because we want the tail in here, don't we? So then I'm going to tighten it up, and she's not going to go anywhere. That makes it easier, because if you've got nobody else to hold it for you, it can be a little bit difficult. Now, I need 3 strands of my yarn. I would say about 30 centimetres, you know, length of a ruler, no more than that. So that's 3 strands. Pop those needles to one side before I lose them. And I'm going to use my big fat needle here, because I want to thread all 3 strands in there. Okay, don't pull it all the way through, just a little bit through. We're going to go onto our mouse's bottom where we're wanting the tail to come out of, and we're going to thread it through. So we still end up with 3 pieces either side. Make sure they're even, because that's not even. Yeah, you got that? Hoping this is going to video. I'm not 100% sure how much you can see, or whether it's a little bit close, I suspect. But you can see we've got 6 strands here. Now I'm going to make a plait now. So I need a 2, a 2 and a 2. And I'm just going to plait. But because the vise is there, it makes it easier for me to hold. So I can make a nice tight plait. I'll move it out of the way because, you know, I'm sure it's just blurring where the vise is. So there we go. So you can keep your plait nice and even without having to try and hold what you've already got. Now you decide how long. I think probably about there. And then what I'm going to do is just tie a little knot. Get it into position. Make sure the knot's covering the plait. And pull it tight. And trim it off. And there Miss Mouse has her tail. Ta-da! That was nice and easy to do. So she has a tail as well now. The only thing our other little mouse is missing, apart from the other side of her body, is her nose. And all I've used for this is a little bit of our pink yarn, and I've just sewn it over a few times. In fact, let me get a longer length than that. Again, maybe a ruler's length. Probably do. I've got bits of yarn everywhere now. I'm making a mess, and I don't want that thick needle either. I want one of my finer needles because it's easier to go over the detail then. In we go. Knot on one end, because we need to make sure it's not going to come through anywhere else. I'm going to take it all the way through the body, because then the pink knot will be in the pink area, and I will push that through a little bit more. There we go. So it's just push it into our body. It will hold in the stuffing, so you don't need to worry about that. So I didn't go all the way up to her nose, did I there? So I need to push it back through and to her nose area. Okay. And as far as the nose is concerned, all I'm doing is going backwards and forwards, over and over, till I've got enough that I think is thick enough for her nose. Yep, can you see what I've done there? I need to put it a little bit lower. That's a rather high nose that she's got. It needs to be here, but I say I will finish that off when I can hold it closer to my body. So basically, that is our Lily Mouse. You just need to pop another leg, obviously, and another arm on the other one, and another ear, and whatever detailing you decide. I just thought these little roses were quite cute. You can have 2 little roses, or you could put a little rose on the dress, or maybe some, I don't know, some lace, or she could be maybe holding a flower. There's so much you can do for this. You can alter it and personalize it, especially if you've got a little ballerina in your family or a big ballerina in your family, depending on who it's for. Like I say, if it is for a child though, just remember about the safety eyes and make sure it is nice and secure, because they're not really toys. They are more of a sort of display item, but then we make a rather cute little gift there. I'm going to go and take some photos of it. I have taken some, but I want to take some outside because it's a better colouring out there. So, and then we're going to get the video uploaded. I will get a pattern written out. Hopefully I'll get the pattern done this evening as well. Bear with me. As soon as I get the pattern done, I will put the link onto the tutorial anyway. So that's it for today. That's our Lily Mouse. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you like her. I'm really pleased with her. If you do enjoy my videos, please like, subscribe and share. I'm hoping to get more sort of amigurumi out, because like I say, I've not done anything for a while. I've got a couple of crochet things to do as well, but as I mentioned, I am working on some work stuff for the convention at the moment, so I'm a little bit all over the place. So again, bye bye from Lily Mouse. She's waving to you now. See, again, you can position your arms as you want. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye bye for now.